Hi, I'm Dr. Richard Amy, and many of you know me as the Laser Doc. I've been using lasers since 1998, and the miracles that I've seen using lasers is phenomenal. Everything from burns and wounds to neuropathies to strokes and all sorts of great things, especially, of course, the things that deal with pain. So, my favorite laser for about the last decade is really the Avant laser. And the Avant lasers have two different types of lasers. We call this the Z or the Pro. It's a combination of a red laser, 637 nanometers, and infrared at 808. Now, the red is very phenomenal for biomodulating. What does that mean? It means it takes something from a high inflammatory response and brings it back down and moves that inflammation through the body. And then we have the infrared, which is analgesic, it's photochemical and photothermal, okay? So we get a little bit of heat, but mostly biochemical. We want the biochemical because that's how the body works. We are like batteries. We're direct currents and we are a receptor-based organism. And the laser uses photons to come into the body, hit receptors in there, and then that photon gives all its energy up to that cell, which is great to help repair pretty much everything in the body, which is really great. So let's take a little bit look at what we have here. So this is the red and the infrared. We also have the violet and red called the Revi. Now, the violet works more for looking at different things like pathogens. It has a higher energy field. So the lower the wavelength, and we're looking at 405 nanometers and a 637 combined, then we're going to get a bigger blast of energy. Probably not going to go as deep, but we know that lasers work synergistically through this association induction, and we know that red lasers can penetrate 2.5 inches into the body in about 4 to 6 minutes, which is really wowish. So we have the combination of a red and infrared and the combination of the violet and the red. And we're just going to break down how I use them and how you use them in conjunction with my manual. So the little manuals were, in 1998 when I first started writing, were about that big, and we'll talk about that maybe on another video. But really now we have this robust manual that's almost 250 different presets. And guess what? They're all preloaded into the laser. So I want to walk you through how I like to set the laser up and how to navigate through the laser. All right, so let's take a look at this Avant laser and look at all the features that we have in here. Sort of like my iPhone. Man, there are so many features and I'm probably only using about 10%. I want to make sure that you know what's in here and all the good and crazy things that you can do with it because it is so robust, so versatile. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn it on, right? So there's a red button here in the middle, and then there's a toggle button around it. We're going to press directly on this red button for the count of 1001, 1002, and it's going to come up and you're going to see enter password. So the password for the advanced settings are to the left and the favorites are to the right. So I'm going to hit 4 clicks at 9 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to hit, so I have 4 arrows going to the left, right? And I'm going to hit the red button. And it comes back and it says, we are in favorites. Okay. Now, there is a column of 3 main categories. Actually, there's going to be 4 because we just added protocols to it. So it's going to be favorites. It's going to be presets down below one, favorites, presets, then it's going to go down and it's going to say settings. So these are the 3 main categories in this line. Favorites are going to have in them, let's go back up to favorites. We're going to have acute pain, right? So acute pains is usually from when you first injured to about 72 hours. Then below that, it's going to be body balance. Now, body balance is really important for me, especially with a lot of the pain syndromes. I'm going to use body balance all the time. That's why it's in the favorites. And then the one we use for 90% of neuromuscular pain syndromes and everything to do with pain is chronic pain. And then we have two more. We have inflammation and we have nerve reset. My rule is you can't have healing or immunology without neurology. So this is where the favorites are. So when we talk about neuromuscular pain syndromes later, this is where you find that chronic pain setting. Now, we're going to come back out of favorites by we're clicking to the left, 9 o'clock. And so it's going to say favorites. Now I want to drop down to presets, okay? So presets are going to be right here. Now presets are everything that's listed in my manual, which you can find on the back. The first preset you're going to look at as we toggle to the right. So if I toggle to the right, it's going to say continuous. Can everyone see that? Continuous. This is just the laser going with no pulsations, no hertz. The only time I ever use this is if I'm looking to mobilize fat, and I know that'll bring a good one for the new year, right? Let's mobilize some fat and let's get it through the body, and I'll go through some of those protocols later. And for lipomas. Everything else, we know that the laser works better when you pulsate it or when you put hertz in, and that's what I've done for you. So the next one after continuous is called essentials. So we have continuous, we have essentials. Now essentials is a file that has my top 20. So there we're going to see, again, acute pain, body balance, chronic pain. We're going to see a lot of the systems, circulatory system, detox system, lymphatic system. So all the systems are going to be there as well as wound healing. We're going to see cartilage. We're going to see a bunch of robust things. And all of this can be found, especially in the back of the manual. You will see everything listed out in this chapter called essentials. All right? There's 20 of them. Now, if we go down one more, there's one called brain. Okay? Now, brain's going to have brain waves. It's going to have lobes of the brain. It's going to have all sorts of different things, such as the cranial nerves. What's the number one cranial nerve that we're going to do quite a bit of? Vagus stimulation, cranial nerve 10. So you're going to find that underneath brain. Then we're going to go down one, and we're going to see common conditions. Common conditions are cold, alopecia, asthma, allergies. Those type of things are going to be in common conditions. And again, just look at the back of your book, and you're going to be able to reference there. They're all in order. They have a page on it. Every page was going to tell you where to go and for how long. So we made it really simple. So this is mostly pictures. Everyone's dream book. Lots of pictures, not a whole lot of reading, right? So point here, go there. We're going to walk you through it. And again, this is a good stepping off point for you. After common conditions, we get into energy. Man, this is a cool section. Not everyone's going to use this. This is for people that do acupuncture. So we're looking at acupuncture meridians. We're looking at chakras. We're looking at solfeggio and Nogier frequencies. This is very robust. And now you're going to see me doing a whole couple hours on energy and how I use it later on. Probably in a month or two, I'm going to do that particular video for you. And I think a lot of you are really going to understand and appreciate it. I toggle down again at 6 o'clock and we see infections. Now, this is where the Revy really excels because we know that violet works so well with pathogens, right? So we're going to look at bacteria all the way to yeast to viruses, and this is loaded up with everything. Now, COVID's in here. We don't have a COVID frequency, but we do have SARS, right? So look at the SARS in there. That's really a big one. HIV is also a really big one in there. And so you're really going to appreciate this. Once we get into infections, right, we need to be very specific or precision frequencies in order to get those going combined with a combination of red, which is immune booster, and the violet. So for people treating more of that type of syndrome, I'd go towards the Revy. For the people treating more neuromuscular pain syndromes, I'd be doing the Pro. So we have nervous system, man. So we have a loaded here. We got ADD, we have seizures, we have many, many different things all in this particular file right here in the nervous system. Below that, we have organs. So every organ in the body, from the adrenals to the eyes to multiple different things. And people say, the eyes, why do you have the eyes in there? Well, we can't treat directly over the eye, but I can sure treat around the eye and the areas that do it, right? The areas that increase blood flow and increase neurological input. So after organs, we have skin conditions, doing a lot with skin conditions, especially because I got to get rid of these bags under my eyes, right? So we're going to use the laser on a lot of skin conditions. The laser is phenomenal for wound healing, for burns, for scar tissue, for psoriasis, for pretty much about every skin condition. So you're going to find a bunch in there. And then we actually have two for four-legged animals, right? So we have a veterinarian one, and underneath this, we're going to see one for small animals, and then we're also going to see one for equine, right? Those are all found right there in this one line, right? So every time you get to it, you're going to toggle to the right, and that opens up that whole chapter, okay? Now, let's go back. So we had favorites up top, presets, and then below that, we have settings, right? So settings gets to be more advanced, and we can do different things and different not. So if I click into settings, I'm going to click to the right. So one toggle to the right, and it's going to say a series of different things. It's going to say advanced. If I want more advanced frequencies and settings, that's where I'm going to go to. Now for me, I'm going to toggle again from the advanced. So I'm going to show that I was in settings, I toggle to the right, and it comes up advanced. Now, this is where I like to program the laser for me, and you can program it any way you want. But in order to follow my book, I'm really going to suggest that you do some of these things. And again, you can vary it however you want. The laser is very, very forgiving. So we have a default timer. I usually don't mess with that. But again, if you wanted to go for 10 minutes and have the laser turn off, this is what you program. We have a default dose. I'm not so much on the dose as I am with time. So we can come into the default dose, or we can bypass. Beam reminder. Most of my protocols are designed to be in 1 minute here, 1 minute there, and then longer periods at the end. So I like to set this for 60 seconds. So I look at beam reminder, I hit the red button, and I check down, and it's going to say, do I want to change it in joules, or do I want to do it in seconds? So I toggle down. So it's advanced, I'm coming back into time. I have joules, I come down into seconds, I hit the red button, and I program it to 60, right? 60 seconds, that's the way I prefer it. So it's going to actually beep every 60 seconds. I'm going to hear that. So after we come out of that, we go to the next one, which is alternate. And this is a feature I've been looking for over 4 years to get into the laser. This allows us to switch from one laser, let's say red, and infrared. I like to start with infrared first and then red. So I love this feature. This is the best feature now because I don't have to toggle back and forth. So I'm going to set alternate. I'm going to click to the right, and it's going to say cycle time. So I like to do this for 60 seconds. So I hit the button, and I make sure that it's on 60 seconds. Very, very important. Now I'm going to hit the red button again, and it's going to come back to cycle time. I'm going to click down, and we're going to get to percentage. I like to rotate between either one 50%. 50% red, 50% IR. 50% red, 50% violet. So this 50% is really where I like to be. Sometimes I can change it a little bit with the violet, but I'm not going to do that right now. But it just makes it easier to follow the manuals. So we insert percentage, and I like it to be 50%. 50%. Half of the time, or 30 seconds, on red or infrared, and then we switch to the other one for 30 seconds in that 60-second cycle, like we did the first one, right? So after we hit percentages, we're going to toggle down again. It's going to say start on. I want to start on IR with the Pro, and I want to start with red on the Revy, okay? So you hit the button, and it says default IR. That's perfect. That's where I want it to be. I hit the red button again, and guess what? I now can go from start on. I'm going to go out of this particular area in the advanced, and I'm going to show you one other feature that I love. And so we're going to come down. We're going to toggle to the left. It's going to say alternate. I'm going to toggle again down, and it's going to say power control. So it's alternate, I toggle down, it says power control. I like to be able to control the power. Many times on maximum power, but I have a little granddaughter and she's like 2.5, 3 years old right now. I don't need maximum power. I have a small dog, first time ever in my life, who's only about 12 pounds. I don't need maximum power. So I like to be able to adjust the power. So if you hit this button, it'll ask you, adjust power. And yes, I want to be able to adjust power. So those are the main things I like to do. So let's go back and let's make sure we do it. So to get out of this, I'm going to toggle to the left, okay? So I'm toggling to the left. It's going to say power control. Absolutely. Then I power again. It says advanced. So I'm going back this way, right? It says it's advanced, and I can toggle one more time to the left, and I'm going to be in settings. So settings, I went to the right and everything was there. If I go up, I'm going to get into the presets. Then I go to the right of that. I'm going to see essentials and all the files. And then if I go up one more than that, I'm going to get to advanced. So again, there's the presets. Here's the advanced. We go up one more. And pretty much that's how you navigate through the laser. And that's how I like to set it up. Now, let's make sure that it's working, okay? So let's go to the favorites and let's go to chronic pain. So we're in the favorites. I toggle to the right. There's 5 in there. Chronic pain. I turn it on. Put on glasses and I turn it on. So I probably can see my hand here. So this is infrared. Great. That's what I wanted to start on, right? I like to use infrared first and then follow it up with the red. So after 30 seconds, if I did everything right, and it's a little bit of an unknown anytime I'm dealing with gadgets or anything electronic that we have it. But after 30 seconds, it should turn to red. So we're counting down. You can see this on the screen. I'm not turning it, and there it was. So we have it set perfectly. 30 seconds of IR, 30 seconds of red. The same thing would happen with the Revy, but we would start on the red. After 30 seconds, it would go to violet. And after that, we're going to wait for the beep and we're going to be done. So just a couple more seconds and it should beep on us and go back to infrared. And then we're going to turn it off. The way you turn it off is you're going to hold the red button down and it takes a couple. You hear that? There it beeped and see it changed for us. So we have it set up perfectly. And this is the way I like to use it. I hit the red button on top. It stops the beam. And then if I want to turn it off, I hold this, right? I hold it down. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. So it takes a little while to turn it off, okay? Just be patient with that, all right? So that's how I like to use the laser. I encourage you to play around with it. You can change times. You can change so many different things with it. You can change bright rate. You can have increased brightness. There's so many different tricks in there. But those are the basic ones that I like to use when I'm using the laser. So as you can see, these are the most versatile lasers on the market, right? I can change between one laser or the other. I can alternate. I can set the beam time. I can set all my presets in there. If something comes out tomorrow and we say that neuropathies can be eliminated with so many different hertz and so much different energy, we can program into the laser. I can adjust the power in literally just seconds. And I love to have my presets pre-programmed into the laser. So I just scroll down, I hit the button, follow the manual, right? That's why we wrote the manual for you. And we're going to see phenomenal results. So for more information, you can go to my website at drrichardamy.com, drrichardamy.com.